Merry Christmas, Scalextric fans, and welcome to Test Track. I'm Dan, and I thought we'd do something a bit different in this episode of Test Track. I wanted to show you my Christmas/winter themed scenic build. Oh, and a bit later on, we'll be taking a look at some Scalextric highlights throughout the year. So when you typically think of Scalextric, you usually think of cars zipping around the track at high speeds. And that's all well and good. But a big part of Scalextric is actually the detail that goes into the cars. So sometimes it's just as much about the aesthetics as it is the speed too. That's why I thought it would be a fun idea to build a Christmas themed layout. And also as a filmmaker, it gives me something quite cool to actually use to film on. Yeah, so I'm not really experienced in this kind of thing, but I just thought I'd give it a go. And I think that's what it's all about. Just giving it a go, seeing how you get on, and you might love it. In my head, I pictured a scene with a car parked up in front of some snow-covered woods. Something kind of cozy feeling. First thing to do was to lay down a piece of track and have it blend into the scene organically. I used a piece of wood that was about the size of an A3 piece of paper as a baseboard. I glued the piece of track down, then glued some pieces of foam around the edges, just to create a bit of a gradual slope. Then I used something called scale rock, which is essentially just sheets of plaster, in order to cover up all of the foam and make the slope look a bit more natural feeling. I stepped back at this point and I thought to myself, God, this looked kind of rubbish. But I was committed and I wanted to see where it would go, so I stuck with it. I let that scale rock stuff dry for a little while, which didn't take too long, maybe about an hour. Then I sprayed the baseboard with some acrylic spray. Okay, unlike myself, you might want to put some newspaper down here. Thankfully, we don't care about this table too much. I wanted something kind of earthy, but I didn't have any to hand, so I just used this olive coloured one instead. I figured that since I'm covering it all in snow, it doesn't matter that much. Once that had dried, the next step was to add some grass and foliage down. This is where things started to get quite fun. I used a mix of PVA, water and some brown paint, and I applied it where I wanted the grass to stick. Yeah, I mean it looked a little bit like swamp water, but I figured at this point, it's all going to be covered in snow, doesn't matter. Then I put some grass scatter material in a sieve and began to shake over the top of the baseboard, just like making a cake. It's best to do this in segments because you don't want the glue to dry as you're going. And voila! I left this to dry overnight and came back the next morning. The best thing to do at this point is to give the board a good smack and shake off all the excess grass. Satisfying. Now to breathe some life into this scene. I stuck some trees and bushes down that I bought from a local model shop. Now this part. Oh, this part broke me. Some of the trees just wouldn't stay up. So it took a lot of PVA glue and stress to get these bad boys to stand up. But wouldn't you know, it worked eventually. I left this to dry, again overnight, and got to work with putting a layer of snow down. In the model shop, I managed to find a few fake snow materials. There was one for layering up to add a bit of depth, and another that you can sprinkle over the top of everything to act like a bit of a fresh layer of snow. Oh, and also there's cool stuff to make icicles. So everything was coming together really nicely. Until I knocked over one of the trees. Didn't matter though, I cut the bottom off and turned it into a stump. This tree was never knocked over, it was chopped down. Now it wouldn't be Christmas without a snowman, and he's made of white tack. All that was left was a Scalextric car. Now I think this Volkswagen Beetle looks quite nice, and I reckon it could hold the weight of a chopped down tree. This year's been an exciting one for Scalextric, seeing the release of all kinds of cars and sets. Let's take a brief look back at some of this year's highlights. The iconic Jaguar XJS has been captured brilliantly here by Scalextric. The new tooling shows off that distinctive Jaguar shape very well. That, on top of a great livery, makes for a very pleasing Scalextric car. These TWR Jaguar XJS were a staple of 1980s touring car racing, despite only very slightly fitting the description of a touring car. Some of the car's most notable successes came in endurance races, not least the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. Here in 1982, the big Jaguar scored a fantastic pole position, but the car was sadly retired due to accident damage, and the race was won by a rival Division 3 BMW. These Jags certainly looked the part, and the cars have been cemented in race history ever since.
So here I am trackside, and I'm going to run you down how this test track challenge works. Our three competitors have picked their super resistant Scalextric cars. They'll take their cars, place them on lane 2 of this beautiful track. They've got to make sure that the butt of their car is at the end of the track. Then they'll take the controller, they'll hold on to their car, they'll rev it up, and off they go. Then they'll hit the ramp at a top speed of who knows what, and it's to infinity and beyond. Then our judge Marcus will score them based on distance, design, damage, and overall improvement. They'll get the chance to change these little babies into, well, whatever they like. Maybe they'll put some extra wings on, or use a fork. There'll be lots of bits and bobs for them to use to make sure that they fly further and get the advantage. And of course, win.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and for today's test track challenge I have chosen this yellow Start LMP car. I've chosen it because it's wide, it's flat, and I think that gives me the edge to make it fly a bit further.
A simple and probably effective car from Sarah. Shame about the colour though.
Hi, I'm Martin, and for today's test track challenge I've chosen the truck. The reason why I've chosen the truck is because I think without any modifications this is going to be absolutely appalling, which would mean therefore it can probably make the most improved vehicle.
An interesting choice from Martin. Going for most improved vehicle might not be a bad idea.
Hi, my name's Simon. I've chosen this, our brand new Pagani Huayra BC. I've chosen this because it's a hypercar, it's got a V12 AMG power, and it's perfectly shaped with lots of active aero to really fly through the air and get that distance on the jump.
Good pick there from Simon. I'm sure the V12 in that Scalextric car is going to serve you well.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Spoiler! So, oh my goodness.
2, 1, go.
With the first round completed, let's see if they can make any improvements.
Right, the plan is, because of the truck, it is the least aerodynamic of all the vehicles that we're going up against. So,
Coming last in the first round, there's certainly potential for that improvement category.
Right, so my car sustained some structural damage in the test. So the first thing is to kind of support the spoiler back on. My plan is to make this look as much like a Boeing 747 or just like a commercial aircraft, to be honest.
Getting creative is going to take Sarah far in the design category. You just got to be careful not to make the vehicle too heavy.
No, it's that a lot of airplanes have 2 engines, so we have a tandem push-pulling design using cable ties and the chassis from one car helping this to propel this one further along the ramp and into the air. It's an ingenious design, it's a clever design, and frankly, these didn't know what the hell they're doing.
good? Ready? I want to see it.
Yes. Okay, I'm ready for a countdown. This is Frightening McQueen's premiere.
1, go. Certain points up on that. Number 2, which of course means in first place it is Sarah and her, what's the name of it? Frightening McQueen in first place. There they are. Well done everyone. Congratulations.
Amongst our numerous cars releasing this year, we have these brilliant British police cars due for release very soon. These 2 cars are a welcome addition to the Scalextric track, whether it's to catch bad guys or have a cheeky off-duty race. It's always interesting to see what cars the police wrap their trademark Battenberg markings around. And I'd say they adorn this car really nicely. Now this car's a familiar, if not always welcome sight to UK motorists. The BMW 330i police car with working light and siren is a machine sure to set the heart pulsing. Be it appearing in your rear view mirror with the lights flashing or tearing away at the next emergency, it is a high-powered machine that runs all the lights. Now moving on to the more classic of the 2, we have this gorgeous, newly tooled Jaguar XJS. I've got to say, I think this might be a personal favourite of mine. I was a big fan of the Ford Capri Police variant last year, so I think it was only natural that I gravitate towards this one. I really like the whole kind of retro aesthetic it's got on display. Despite its somewhat limited load-carrying ability, a number of different police forces used the XJS for brief amounts of time in order to test its effectiveness as a motorway patrol vehicle. One such police force was the Warwickshire Constabulary, who trialled this particular machine on the M6 during the early 1980s. However, the machine was not put into operation after this time. The XJS, with its police lights and powerful V12, would have been a real match for any would-be crook or speeder on the motorway. And the same is certainly true on the Scalextric track.
This time we take a look at a set from 1998. It's Super Saloons. Coming packaged in the box is a leaflet showing all the cars, sets and accessories that released that year. Ah, the memories. Releasing in '98, the set has got the classic style Scalextric track, which featured different connections and a rougher texture compared to the track of today's sets. The cars of choice for this set are very suited to the era in which it released. An Opel Calibra adorned in a blue and white livery based on cars that raced the German touring car masters. The Opel Calibra might be better known as the Vauxhall Calibra to those in the UK. A Mercedes-Benz C-Class sporting a Dane livery. This livery still looks good in all its crunchy almond glory. Comparing these older cars to newer ones, we can see a few minor differences with the build. The braids and guide blade are noticeably larger in the models of today. The motor is also exposed in the older model, whilst it sits behind plastic in the newer Scalextric car. The magnets on the bottom have also taken on a different size, shape and placement on the newer car.
Thanks for tuning in to Test Track. We hope you enjoyed watching. From everybody here at Scalextric, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.